Human error can have devastating effects. From the source itself to everybody around them, one man's mistake can cause a chain reaction that can reach the most innocent of bystanders. Whether it happened 100 years ago or today, you never know when the driver of a train can make a mistake so bad it can end your life. For this story, this was the case for many. Let's talk about what happened to the Hammond Circus train fire. In 1918, the Hagenbeck-Wallace Circus was one of the largest shows in America. Formed in 1907, the troupe employed around 250 performers, including acrobats, equestrians, lion tamers, and clowns. By 1918, the show had grown into a $1 million performance and required 2 trains consisting of 28 cars to transport the performers, animals, costumes, and gear across the country. The show had an excellent reputation, being the 3rd largest in the country and known as the Midwestern version of the P.T. Barnum and Bailey Show. People would await its arrival with anticipation, excited to witness the impressive trapeze artists, well-trained animals, and equestrian acts labeled superb. Needless to say, it was doing rather well for itself, so it would be a shame if some unforeseen accident would put a damper on all of that. On June 22, 1918, the show had just completed 2 performances in Michigan City, Indiana, and was traveling overnight at 45 miles per hour to nearby Hammond. 2 trains headed to their destination. The first, which held most of the animals, departed and made it safe and sound. The second train had to be pulled off the track so engineers could fix the hot box, which was overheating and risked starting a fire. So, at 4:00 a.m., the train pulled off the main track, leaving the last 5 cars sitting upon it while engineers worked. 4 of the 5 cars were sleeper cars, where the performers resided. At this time, engineer Alonzo Sargent was at the throttle of an empty Michigan Central troop train, designed to transport soldiers to the East Coast for deployment. Carrying with him 20 empty pull cars, Sargent was aware that he was following behind a slower-moving circus train. That morning, he was not fit to operate the train, as a combination of lack of sleep, a couple of heavy meals, kidney pills, and the gentle rolling of the train quickly put him to sleep. The stopped circus train had made 2 automatic signal warnings informing nearby trains of their halted position. Both were missed by Sargent. In addition to these signals, engineers tried desperately to stop the oncoming train with lamp signals, all of which were not seen by the sleeping conductor. The technically unmanned train hit full force into the caboose and 4 wooden sleeper cars of the stopped circus train at 4:00 a.m. at a rail crossing known as Ivanhoe Interlocking, just 5 miles east of downtown Hammond. The sound of the collision was so loud it woke nearby farmers who came to see what had happened. Henry Miller was one of the survivors who was thrown from the last sleeper car when hit. He explained that he woke to the sound of splintering wood, then several crashes as the train buckled in on itself, then parted in the center as if cut by a giant knife. To add to the chaos and danger, the impact caused kerosene lamps hanging in the halls of the wooden cars to break and quickly light them on fire. Survivors were seen crawling their way out of the debris and heard crying for help before they were engulfed in flames. It was a truly devastating scene, as survivors risked their lives trying to pull friends and family from the wreckage as the fire quickly spread. While the Gary and Hammond fire departments arrived as quickly as they could, the only source of water nearby was from shallow marshes, so progress was slow. A crane also arrived on the scene, but couldn't be used at first due to how intense the heat from the fire was. The accident ended the lives of 86 people and injured another 127. The bodies were mostly impossible to identify due to how badly burnt they were. Alonzo Sargent was arrested for manslaughter, but families of the deceased struggled to understand who all were to blame for what happened. The railway company and Circus itself had fingers pointed at them, but both refused to take blame. The wreckage took a physical and psychological toll on the survivors, but despite the horror they witnessed, the show incredibly did go on, only having to cancel 2 performances and using the help of nearby circuses to fill in for some of the acts. In the following weeks, 53 of the deceased were buried in a large plot at Woodlawn Cemetery in Chicago. Because many couldn't be identified, only 5 of them had marked graves, but they were all memorialized with a stone elephant, its trunk lowered in sadness. About 1,500 mourners showed up to pay their respects. A perfect example of how one man's mistake could end the lives of many. It's hard to know how much remorse Alonzo felt for what he had done, because he refused to testify at any of his hearings, opting to instead write a report that said, "I was doing my job to the best of my ability. The only reason this happened was because I fell asleep. I didn't mean to hurt anybody." All very cut and dry. I do hope that he felt something for what he did. Thanks for watching. For more true crime and horror, please consider subscribing. Game with me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, and as always, be well.